Did you know there are hidden habits that can kill you? A 70-year-old man went to bed as usual. He felt fine, had no health complaints. But the next morning, he didn't wake up. His family was in shock. What happened? Could it have been prevented? After age 70, some bedtime habits can quietly undermine your health, increasing the risk of stroke, heart attack, and even sudden death. The scariest part? Most people do these things every evening without realizing the danger. Today, we'll talk about 5 nighttime habits that can seriously affect your well-being. Chances are, you've been doing these for years without giving it a thought. But by making a few small changes, you can lower these risks, improve the quality of your sleep, and wake up refreshed and full of energy. And most important of all, the last habit is something almost every older person has, and it's especially dangerous. Midnight archiving, when you decide to go through old documents and letters right before bedtime. In the evening, after 9 or 10 o'clock, it's usually a time to wind down. The day is ending, you don't have much energy left, and your body is getting ready to gradually switch off. But sometimes you notice a folder in the closet or on the top shelf labeled Bills 2005-2010, or you find a box of old letters and photographs in the dresser. I'll just take a quick look, maybe sort them out, you say to yourself, sincerely thinking you'll do it fast and put it aside. But a couple of minutes quietly turns into half an hour, then an hour, or even an hour and a half. Why? Because each receipt or envelope from the past seems to bring your memories back to life. Here's an unpaid fine from 10 years ago. There's a letter from an old friend you haven't seen in ages. Emotions begin to surge, from warm nostalgia to the bitterness of loss. When you stumble upon medical records, you might feel anxious. Back then, I had a blood pressure spike. What if it happens again now? Or if you come across a farewell note from a loved one, you're plunged back into the pain of that loss. As a result, even if it only takes 40 minutes, by the end you're much more emotionally shaken than you would be in the daytime, because at night the brain reacts more intensely. Adding to the difficulty is that this kind of venture often starts closer to 11 or 12 at night. You miss your window for naturally falling asleep. If you had gone to bed at 11, maybe you'd already be peacefully asleep by midnight. But since your brain is caught up in the emotional archiving of your life, it's midnight by the time you finish rummaging through papers, and your body, which was expecting a calm wind down, is now stirred up and on edge. It takes at least another half hour or hour to relieve that tension, sometimes the rest of the night if the memories are heavy or painful. Some older people say that after such an emotional shakeup, they can't fall asleep until 3 or 4 in the morning, and then the entire next day feels foggy and filled with headaches. If these archival nights become a habit, for example, you sort a little every night but do it regularly because there's so much paperwork, insomnia can turn chronic. Plus, there's a higher risk of blood pressure spikes, flare-ups of heart conditions, and anxiety disorders. To avoid this scenario, it's better to plan in advance for decluttering. Make it a daytime or morning task when you're alert and have enough emotional resources. If you really feel the need to tidy up in the evening, set a timer for 20-30 minutes and stick to it strictly. As soon as it goes off, stop sorting and switch to something relaxing. Maybe have a cup of warm caffeine-free tea, listen to soft music, or do a few simple stretching exercises to free your mind from your thoughts. When you're done, there's a much better chance you'll fall asleep quickly and peacefully, instead of spending the rest of the night mentally working through memories. Extremely bright, cool lighting late at night, powerful LED lamps and ceiling lights that turn your room into midday. Before the era of electricity, people lived by natural rhythms. Once the sun went down, the lighting became soft. Torches, candles, or kerosene lamps never produced the frighteningly bright stream of light we're used to today. Modern LED lamps can easily illuminate a room so everything inside is clearer than daytime, but it's especially harmful if the light is in the cool spectrum, 4,000 to 6,000 K, and fills your space after 9 in the evening. The brain, unaware that it's late evening, perceives this bright, cool light as a signal to stay awake. As a result, you watch the news, cook dinner, or read a newspaper under midday lighting, and your body never starts producing melatonin, the hormone needed for falling asleep. Additionally, cheap LED lamps often have hidden flicker. You can't see it with the naked eye, but it heightens fatigue and irritability. Some older people describe it as a strange discomfort, a tickle in the eyes, or headaches in the evening. Interestingly, if you swap such a lamp for a better quality one with warm, steady light, many notice improved well-being in just a day or two. Another problem is that older people sometimes think, I need bright light to see everything because my eyesight isn't what it used to be. But in the context of late hours, it's better to use localized soft lighting, a table lamp by your chair, a wall sconce near your bed. That way, you see what you need to see, but the rest of the room remains dim, and the brain gradually prepares for sleep. If you're worried you might drop something or not notice it, you can set up a few low, warm-toned lights at different heights. Just avoid turning on a ceiling light at full power that makes your home look like an operating room. Ideally, an hour before bedtime, you should dim the lights to a minimum. That way, your body realizes night is here, time to slow down. It may initially feel strange, but you'll soon notice it's easier to fall asleep, and nighttime awakenings happen less often. There's no constant trick that it might still be daytime outside. Too hot a bath or shower right before bed. I'll warm up and instantly fall asleep. Of course, warm water generally relaxes muscles and helps relieve the day's built-up tension. The problem is that we often confuse the words warm and hot. Some people make the water really scalding, believing, the hotter it is, the better I'll relax. But such bathing late at night can push back your bedtime significantly. To fall asleep, the body needs a slight drop in core temperature. When you raise it by taking a hot bath, you trigger a cooling process through sweating and increased blood flow to the peripheral vessels. The heart starts working harder, and you don't feel sleepy, but rather a mild excitement, sometimes a cottony sensation in your head. As we age, blood vessels lose elasticity, and these thermal shocks can cause spikes in blood pressure, a faster pulse, or even dizziness. Some older folks notice that after leaving a bath that's too hot, they can't fall asleep for hours because of inner heat or chills, as the body tries to rebalance. There's also another aspect. If you accidentally exceed the time you can tolerate hot water, for example, you dozed off or got too relaxed, the strain on the heart can multiply. It's far more effective to pick a pleasant temperature range of about 36 to 38 degrees C, close to body temperature, and finish your bathing at least 60 minutes before bedtime. That way your core temperature returns to normal, and you won't feel like you're walking around the house with a scorching head. If you really love super hot baths and feel they're your secret for relieving joint pain, try having them in the daytime or early evening. Then your body has time to recover before bedtime. A warm shower half an hour before bed helps you relax without undermining your natural sleep mechanism. Constantly checking your health right before bed. What if my blood pressure is spiking? In today's world, there's a range of devices for self-monitoring. Blood pressure cuffs, heart rate monitors, pulse oximeters, glucometers, smartwatches, and bracelets that measure anything from steps taken to stress levels. That's undoubtedly good, in moderation. The trouble is, some people, especially those worried about their health, use them right before bedtime. Picture this. You've changed into pajamas, ready to sleep, and suddenly remember, oh, I forgot to check my blood pressure. You check it and see it's a bit higher than in the morning. You start to worry. Why did it go up? Is this a sign of a hypertensive crisis? Your heart begins to beat faster, and instead of sleeping, you lie there, eyes wide open, listening to your body. At night, any doubt or fear feels more alarming. Maybe 20 minutes later you get up again to check if it got even higher. Such endless measuring never gives your brain a chance to calm down. The more you panic, the more your readings spike, creating a vicious circle. See, the numbers got worse, so my panic was justified. Yet truly, slight fluctuations are normal. You're just magnifying them. As a result, you often end up with insomnia, anxious dreams, or early awakenings thinking, maybe I need to see a doctor immediately. This is especially evident when someone wakes up at night to use the bathroom and suddenly decides, let me check my blood pressure right now. Naturally, after the minimal activity of getting out of bed, your pulse can rise and show a higher reading, which scares you even more. Again, you can't get back to sleep, effectively robbing yourself of necessary nighttime recovery. To avoid this trap, it's better to move all checkups to daytime or early evening. If your doctor specifically says to check your pressure before bed, limit it to one measurement. Write it down and don't try to interpret it right away. Discuss it in the morning or at your appointment. Remember, calmness at bedtime is your greatest ally against real health issues. Late-night monologues about your life, talking to yourself, or recording dictaphone confessions right before sleep. In times of loneliness or just the desire to sort things out, some older people choose to speak their thoughts out loud in the evening, already lying in bed or sitting in a dark room, about the past, present, and future. It can feel like a conversation with an imaginary companion. Oh, if only I hadn't made that mistake back then, everything would be different. Why do my kids call so rarely? Or, this time I feel so unwell, is it really serious? Others go further and turn on a voice recorder to keep an audio diary, where they document all their anxieties. It seems that in doing so, you can get it off your chest and fall asleep more easily, not carrying your troubles in your head. But the reality can often be the opposite. When you start speaking out loud about painful or worrying topics, the brain kicks into high gear. The areas responsible for speech, planning, and even stress response light up to full capacity. It's like a therapeutic session, without the help of a psychotherapist who might limit the time and give you support at the right moment. As a result, you might end up in tears, recalling old resentments, or get agitated by thoughts you've never verbalized before. Emotions surge, and rather than gently drifting off to sleep, you feel your heart pounding and your mind racing with idea after idea. People sometimes say that after such nighttime monologues, they can't get to sleep for 2 or 3 hours and wake up in the morning with red eyes and a heavy head. Plus, if you listen back to the recording to make sure I said everything right, you go even deeper into those feelings. Instead of peacefulness, you get self-examination and emotional overload. You can handle this by shifting intensive self-analysis to daytime hours. Try to discuss difficult things at least a couple of hours before bedtime so you have time to stabilize mentally. If you really need to air out your problems, maybe do so with relatives, friends, or a counselor during the day when you have the resources. At night, it's better to let your mind move toward calm or neutral thoughts. Maybe read a book or do something lightly relaxing so that sleep doesn't turn into an emotional battleground. We've examined 5 nighttime habits that can quietly put your health at risk after 70. Some of them might surprise you. Others might be things you've done for years without thinking about the consequences. But now you know the truth and, most importantly, how to protect yourself. The good news? Even small changes can lower the risks of strokes, heart attacks, and sudden nighttime complications. Think about it. Which of these habits do you have? What will you change starting today? Write in the comments which part struck you the most. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on new tips. Take care of yourself.